All right, hi everyone. Welcome to Making Multifamily Money. So, back by popular request, I'm actually going to underwrite a deal that I was sent a couple months ago. So, I don't think it's currently active. I try not to underwrite currently active deals because I don't want to throw shade at anybody. But let me show my screen here. So, this was a pocket listing sent from a broker in Oklahoma. So this is the Greenstone Apartments, and here is the address. So what I like to do out the gate, I'm just going to save this address for later, but actually I'll just do it right now. No, I'll save it for later. So I like to look at the address so that I can Google map it and kind of do a street view. Obviously I'm in California. I'm investing out in Oklahoma. So I want to try to do as much research as I can before I'm physically flying out to Oklahoma. So one quick thing is just a quick address search. So from here, so this is an offering memorandum. If you watch my other videos, offering memorandum stands for lie in Latin. And the reason for that is because a lot of the information, as we'll go over, is very fabricated. They make it very long, but at the end of the day, it's just a way to sell a deal, and they're typically trying to sell overpriced deals. So when you scroll down, usually you'll talk about the property information. So here you can kind of see a nice photo of the apartment complex. Without even really looking at the deal, it looks like an A-class apartment complex. So my two apartments are C-class. So C-class is considered 20 years or older. A-class is, I believe, about 10 years or less. And then B-class is between 10 to 20 years. So most of my apartments that I own are in the 1970s. So, what is that? 50 years old. So I'm typically doing a lot of renovation, a lot of rehab. But as you look from this photo here, this is pretty much a cookie cutter modern apartment complex, I'd say, in the Southeast. You can see there's designated parking. So initially, what I'm already thinking out the gate is you can potentially charge for parking, right? You kind of see these spots here. You can maybe add some, covering over it, like carports, if you will, to give them some shade. But you can see that there's designated parking spots, and you can potentially charge a little bit for parking. So here, the property description, I guessed it correctly. It's an A-class apartment complex built in 2017. It's 20 units. 8 are 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and 12 are 1-bed, 1-bath units. Each unit has in-unit washer and dryer, and some units are used for short-term rentals. So that's interesting. And there's others that are unfurnished long-term rentals. So either way, it's, I guess, apparently great site, low vacancy. So it's kind of funny how, short-term rentals is really popular. And then, a lot of people, if you watch a lot of podcasts, they're listening to they want to do short-term rentals. You can make massive cash flow immediately. And people are retiring, making $20,000 a month. Like there's a guy where I started investing in real estate at the same time. I went the apartment route and he went the short-term rental route. And he's already making like 15 to 20K a month net through his short-term rentals. We both started 2017 versus me over here. I own 90 units and I'm not cash flowing yet. But why I wanted to bring this up is because with apartments, it's a longer game, right? Apartments, the first couple years, you're all about forcing appreciation. That is your goal. And you make money when you cash out refinance initially. And that usually requires a lot of renovation, a lot of headache, a lot of tenant turnovers, and it just takes time. It takes 2 to 3 years. After that part's done and you did your cash out refinance and got your payday, at that point, you start to get cash flow because you gradually raise rents by $25 to $50 a month. That does not sound like a lot of money, but if you raise $50 a year and there's 20 units, that's $1,000 a month in cash flow. Then you raise it again, $50, that's $2,000 a month in cash flow. $50 again, that's $3,000. And this is when it starts to stack. Anyways, back to my prior point. when you own apartment complexes, you can literally designate half your units for long-term rental or 75% to long-term rental, and then the remaining 25% to short-term rentals. So in a 20-unit apartment complex, imagine renting out 15 on a long-term basis and have 5 on a short-term basis. The only caveat I will say is that the lenders that I use, or the current lenders, they're not used to that model. Like when they see short-term leases, they view it as very risky. Like if you were to bring a lease, 20-unit apartment complex, and all tenants were on a month-to-month or a week-to-week lease, because some people do that. They charge on a weekly basis. They charge a little bit more on a weekly basis versus if they paid on a month. But to the lender, it's like, oh, there's no secured leases, no security. Everyone can leave at the same time. So that's one thing to be very cognizant about, is already out the gate. Okay, well, it might be 20 units occupied, but how many are for short-term rentals? And then how is the lender going to see the short-term rental? Right? Like maybe they'll be nice, and let's just say the typical rent's 500 and maybe you're bringing 1500 through Airbnb. They might say, okay, we're just going to chop it down from 15 to 500, 1500 to 500. So it really requires a conversation. And like I said, short-term rental is a newer concept. So maybe the government loans may not like it. You might have to go to your secondary, tertiary lenders who charge higher interest rates, but they're more flexible. So out the gate here, it's a sales price of $2.5 million for 20 units. So usually what I like to do is I like to calculate it on a per unit basis. So brain's not strong today. So that's $125,000 per unit. So this is almost like California prices, right? Very similar. Building size is around 1,300 square feet. The net operating income is $160,000. So we're going to verify that, right? And the cap rate is 6.4%. So for my C-class apartment complex, I underwrite at around 7.5% to 8. So if this is an A-class apartment complex, a cap rate of 6.4% is reasonable. I would say that's about right for that type of A-class apartment complex. So next, let's look at the location information. So here, once again, they kind of show this general map. I want to take it a step further, and I'm just going to paste that address that I had earlier. So right here, you go straight to Street View. So you can get a sense of what the area looks like. Let me see. So here, let me see. So kind of out the gate, let me see. It looks like it's on a main street. It's next to a gas station. And as you can kind of see, so this photo was captured on April 2022. So if you kind of look at the bottom of the Google Street View, you can see it. And here, I mean, it looks a little bit shady. There's kind of a guy hanging out with a bike. The only downside about the gas station is I'm not sure if this is a liquor store. Let me see if I could get a better view. Yeah, so actually this is a liquor store. So the only downside about, being next to a liquor store is that, like, you might get some people loitering there, whether they're homeless, whether they're more transient type people. It does unfortunately attract that type of person. There seems to be other apartment complexes in the unit as well. So right here, there's an apartment complex literally right next door. But fortunately, the apartment complex at the property is probably the newest and the nicest, as you can see. So out the gate already, there's a lot of apartment complexes. So what's kind of nice is, if the deal does pencil out, you could, potentially reach out to these owners over here and buy these apartment complexes and scale. So from the street view, once again, this is a quick snapshot. I see trash on the floor. It's not a great sign, unfortunately. And then what I typically do is, oh, wow, it's letting me go everywhere. So this apartment complex right here, it honestly looks like a C-class apartment complex. This is kind of what I'm used to. And there's another apartment complex right next door. Again, So what I would typically do is, obviously I'm just looking. I don't know. What I would do is I would send this to my property manager and say, hey, like, what do you think about the area? And if it's really bad, they'll usually make an immediate statement, right? If it's good, then, or they don't know, then they're like, okay, let me, drive by this. So what I like to do next is, since I already own an apartment complex in Oklahoma, I like to get, okay, so my apartment complex is somewhere over here. So let me see. Pick this. Oh, okay. So this apartment complex is actually only about 3 miles away from my apartment complex. So, if it's like my area, it's actually a good area, right? So that's what's working for it. It's a pretty decent area. Um, so that's comforting for me. But once again, I'd have my property manager probably swing by during different periods of the day. So let me back out of Google Street View. And what I like to do is now I just Google the address. So I like to go apartments.com. It's kind of nice because you might get more insights as to what it actually looks like, right? So let's take a look at some pictures here. So it looks like there's carpet with some tile. Let me see here. Personally, not the greatest fan of carpet. I'm okay with it in the bedroom. But in kind of the living room area, like in this photo right here, it just gets so dirty over time. People eat out here, they're gonna spill. If you have pets, it's gonna stink. So honestly, in the family room, kitchen, bathroom, I prefer luxury vinyl plank flooring. And then in the bedroom, if I wanted to skimp on price a little bit, I would just do carpet. But for me, I actually just do LVP flooring throughout. So maybe the builder's trying to cut corners here. And then here, this is the kitchen. So this looks like it's either quartz or laminate. I can't tell. There's black appliances, which is really popular in Oklahoma. They got a little black backsplash going on, which is a little more common. So, honestly, this kind of looks like my apartment complex renovated. It's I expect a little bit more out of a class, I'd say, but at least it gives you a good gauge. And what's kind of nice here is, so you can kind of see the occupancy, right? So you go on apartments.com and it says there's not available. So they're 100% occupied. All right. And then you can see a 1 bedroom, 1 bath is 600 square foot, 2 bedroom, 1 bath is 700 square foot. So in my C-class apartment complex, I'm getting around 650 for my 1 bedroom. And I'm getting 750 for my 2 bedroom. But this is an A-class, so I would expect to see higher rents. Okay, so it kind of beat me to. So they use granite countertops, washer and dryer, there's carpeting, security cameras, new appliances. It's pet friendly. So once again, if you're taking pets, like, don't do carpet. Um, there's a property manager on site. I'm pretty surprised by that. It's only 20 units. They have 24-hour security cameras. So either A, it's an A-class apartment, or B, there might be an issue with crime there. As I mentioned, there is the convenience store right next door, and usually that kind of gets people loitering around. So that's my initial intuition. Pets. So it looks like they're allowing pets, parking. They're allowing, let's see, to the 20 units. So not really. So here, these are the rents for the market. So as I kind of mentioned earlier, a 1 bedroom is $650 for me. A 2 bedroom is $750. But this is a nicer A-class apartment complex. So I'm hoping to see, I'd probably say for the 2 bedroom closer to 1,000 and a 1 bedroom about 800. So right here out the gate, you can see the school. So the high school is a 1 out of 10. So, once again, my suspicion raises, is it a good area? It might be in the path of progress. I don't know. So, once again, I rely on my property management for that. So this is not really much here. Demographic. I mean, to be honest, this is typically pretty useless. to me. See, we're on page 10 out of 20, and then most of the information has been pretty useless so far, right? So here's the financial summary. So this is what I'm interested in. So, okay, they want 2.5 million. It's $125,000 per unit. If you do the 1% rule, the rent should be $1,250. But I don't think, to be honest, that one bedroom's in rent for $1,200. At best, the two-bedroom may, but even then, I'm skeptical. I don't think you're going to hit the 1% rule, which is fine. So okay, no, I'm gonna see right here. So they leave some. So they left the NOI. So it's 160K. Um, and let's see here. So here the long-term rental details. So the one bedroom goes for 850 a month. So mine rents for 650. So that sounds about right. It's $200 more. It's an A-class apartment complex. They look like they bill back for uh, water and sewer, which is called RUBS. So that's nice, $30. And they charge about $40 for washer and dryer. It comes in unit. So okay, that's 850. So if you remove that, it's about 775. Mine's 650. Right? I don't do RUBS yet. But just for a reference, I'm at 650, and then with my two bedroom is 750. So they're only getting $100 more than my 26 unit, but mine is a lot cheaper, right? And here, short-term rental details. They rent between $42 to $70 per night, and it varies. So when I underwrite this, I'm only going to look at long-term rental. So once again, this doesn't hit the 1% rule, so it's a little bit overpriced, but maybe less maintenance because of A-class, right? It's A-class, so less maintenance. So sales comparables. I usually take these with a grain of salt, but what I really like to look at is the price per unit. So this one is, what is this? 90K per unit. So for my C-class apartment, it's 65K per unit renovated. That's fully renovated. I got mines for around 20K per unit, putting in 10K per unit, and it's worth 65K per unit. All right, that's my spread. Let's see here. This Rockwell one. Actually, I might have looked at this deal a while back. That's funny. So this one is 100K per unit, and this one's not disclosed. So this one is 136K per unit. But as you can see here, this rate looks nicer, right? It has the LVP flooring throughout. So, okay, they're basically when the broker puts this, they're just trying to justify their higher price, and you have to do your own research, right? Like, if you're part of my mentorship or my course, I teach you how to use PropStream and LoopNet to find sales comparables to figure out price per unit basis. You always want to do your own research, right? You never trust the broker because the brokers lie. So here, some photos. Once again, next to this liquor store. I really don't expect much to be wrong. Okay, this one right here has some LVP flooring. This is probably one of the Airbnb units, I'm assuming. Stackable washer and dryer. They got black appliances. This is really popular in Oklahoma right now. You can get this like black set. It costs more. I have stainless steel or white because it's cheaper. But when I upgrade, I do go to the black. So yeah. So what's missing from this offering memorandum that the banks need? They need a rent roll, a recent rent roll, and they need a T12, right? So what's the point of this offering memorandum when they didn't even offer that? So let's run some numbers now. So, and I'm going to do this a little bit ghetto. I'm going to do it on Excel because I want to show that you don't need a fancy underwriting calculator, but if you're part of the mentorship, I do have an underwriting calculator. So what I do is, so I usually type one bed. There's 8 of it, and the rents were $775, right? And then the 2 bed, there's 12 of them, and it rented for Oh, sorry, it's 850 and 950. Oh, let me blow this up for you guys. Sorry about that. What am I doing? So let me blow this up real big. Okay. So 850 and 950. And what you want to do is you want to calculate this on a monthly basis. So you want to do, to calculate my monthly rent here. So like typically you want to use your rent roll, right? But since they didn't give me one, so my monthly total rent is going to be $18,000, right? So it's $18,000 a month, right? That's on a monthly basis. So if you want to make it annual, you just do this times 12. So that's around, so out the gate, that's around $220,000, right? That's the gross income. Let's look at the NOI from the pro forma broker. So they're saying it's 160 is the NOI. So they're saying that the expense is 50K, or what is that? No, it's 60K. But for me, being an operator, I know it's slightly fabricated because it cost me around 50 to 55% to operate my apartment complex. But I will give the fact that it's an A-class apartment complex, but you can calculate the expense ratio. So let's do their expense ratio. I'm just being very comprehensive here to teach you guys. So you want to take your expense and you divide it by your income. So they're saying it's 27% to operate this A-class apartment complex. I already know out the gate that's false. That's very false. No way can you operate an apartment complex at 27%. So they're already fabricating the net operating income, right? So for me, I typically, if you take my course, I assume 50% expense ratio, right? So, back to this example, if the annual rent is 220,000, I expect my expense to be 110,000, right? But let's just, for the sake of this example, let's just be nice. Let's just say it's 40% expense ratio, right? So, in reality here, let's do an expense ratio of 40%. So that's going to be, let's just take this times 0.4. The expenses are going to be around $87,000. And now we can calculate the NOI, which is the gross income minus the expense. So your net operating income is 131,000. And if you want to calculate an offer price, right? So the cap rate of 6.5%. But now let's just take this NOI, divide by the cap rate. So to me, this is probably worth around $2 million. And they wanted 2.5, right? So this is assuming the net operating income divided by the market cap rate method, right? And then that's around 100K per unit. And I think 100K per unit is a little bit more reasonable. If the rents were 950, that's almost a 1% rule. It's a little bit newer. So they're about $500,000 overpriced. And I'm willing to pay $500,000 overpriced if and only if they do seller finance this deal. So now the question is, all right, well, how do I calculate my cash and cash return? Right? So cash and cash return. So I have my net operating income. I just need to do my debt, my loan, right? So let's just assume it's 25% down payment. So I'll underwrite this deal at their price. So they want 2.5 million. So they need about $625,000 down. And then the loan equals 2.5 minus, so my loan is going to be about $1.9 million. So I'm not smart enough to do this in my mind, but let me get my loan calculator here. So literally, I just Google mortgage calculator. So I think that was, what was that number? Okay. So 1875. My monthly mortgage payment. Oh no, this is my loan is 1.8 million, 30 years fixed and 6%. I think interest rates, I mean, we can be generous. Let's just do 6.5. You know, I'm doing a cash out refinance on my hard money loan right now on my 20 unit, and they quoted me 9%. But it is, you know, a smaller bank and they give more flexible terms as non-recourse. So let's just be generous. Let's do 6.5%. I think it might be higher, to be honest. But for the sake of this example, let's just go. So the monthly payment is 11,800. Let's call it 11,900 for simplicity. So the monthly debt service is, I'm sorry, this looks a little bit messy, but I'm just sharing you the thought process that I do when I underwrite the deal, is going to be 11,900. So let's calculate my net cash flow, right? So I should break out my expense. So let's do it on a monthly basis. So I need to make this expense. So let me make this annual expense. Sorry, a little unorganized here. And then underneath it, I'm going to insert the monthly expense. Of it, which is just this divided by 12. So here, to calculate your net cash flow, this is going to be, so you take your total monthly rent, which is 18,000. You're going to minus your monthly expense of 7,300, and you're going to minus your debt service of about 12,000. So in this case, I'm negative, right? I'm negative $1,000 a month, which is what I expected, right? And this is being nice of a 40% expense ratio and a nice interest rate. So out the gate, the deal is no go for me, right? It's quick, easy, no go. But let's just say, remember when I underwrote it earlier, I said I think a good price would be 2 million. So let's just see. So for 2 million, 75% loan to value. So my loan's 1.5 million. So let's see how it'll look here at 1.5. 1.5 million. My monthly payment is going to be 9,500. So let me change that real quick. 95. 95. Okay, so here at a $2 million purchase price, I'm net cash flowing around 1,420. That's on a monthly basis. So if you want to do annual net cash, times this by 12. And then so you make $17,000 a month. And then you want to do your cash on cash. You just take your annual net cash, you divide by your down payment. So at $2 million, that's going to be $500,000. This one's a 3.5% cash on cash return, right? It's not amazing. It's not, it's bad. I mean, probably honestly, if you take over the apartment complex, one tenant will leave and you lose your cash flow. But this is how I quickly write. So I typically aim for around 7 to 10% cash on cash return. So you can kind of work down again, right? So you can maybe go like, okay, well, maybe I want to offer 1.8 million. So, same thing, right? I want to offer 1.8 million times 75%. So now my loan's 1.3. So my loan dropped a bit, right? Because my purchase price went down. It's gonna be 1.35 million, so 8,500 a month. Let's see here. Let me make this 85. So right here, okay. So net cash flow is gonna be 2,400. Your annual net's around 29,000, and here we have about a 5.6% cash to cash return. So hey, 1 point purchase price might make sense on this deal. So this is how I kind of quickly underwrite a deal. So as you can kind of see, I kind of took my time here. but usually I go a lot faster. Obviously when I'm doing it by myself. Um, so I guess for me, any questions? Did that all make sense?
Yeah, no, that all made sense.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll stop sharing my screen. Um, so once again, I know I kind of went really fast on that deal, but this is recorded, so look at it again. But because I know my market so well, it's easy for me to underwrite it. So it just takes practice. And when you join my course or mentorship, I basically have people underwrite bad deals on purpose, um, so that they can learn, right? Like honestly, if I told the broker, hey, I only want to offer you $1.8 million, they're probably gonna laugh at me and move on, right? But you have to get into the habit of knowing what purchase price makes sense for you, and you have to learn to underwrite yourself. So, you know, um, like I said earlier, I do have a calculator for my mentorship and all that, but I just underwrote this deal using Excel, right? Like you can do it yourself. Like it's not difficult. You can do it on the back of a napkin. You just have to know your fundamentals. So, like you saw how I did it, where, I know the expense is 50%. So, once again, if he wants $2.5 million, he better sell or finance me the deal with load money down, and I better have the ability to, um, add value somehow, whether it's just raising rents. In this case, I'm just raising rents. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the fact that they do short-term rental, it's actually, lenders may not like that, right? You may be able to find a lender that can do it, but those type of lenders are going to charge more than 6.5% interest rate. They're probably going to be charging like 8.5 to 9, like where I'm at. Like it's a trade-off, right? If you want a bank that's flexible and willing to work with you more, you'd pay a higher interest rate because there's more risk. If you want a government-backed Fannie Freddie loan, they're probably not going to even consider the short-term rental income because to them it's non-existent. If there's no lease, it's no good. So, once again, that's how I underwrite a deal. Hopefully, you guys found value from that, and I just do that over and over, right? It just takes practice. It takes repetition. Once you've done 100 deals in your market, you start to know the market very well. And at that point, you get to the point where you can look at a deal in about 5 minutes and know it's reasonable or not. Like I think the first time I saw the deal, I already knew, oh, this is overpriced. So I don't even move on forward. I'll usually just ask, oh, do you have a rent roll, P&L? And are they willing to do creative financing? And the answer is no to creative financing. Then I already know that it's not going to be a good deal. Like it's not going to make sense for me, right? But if you're doing a huge 1031 exchange and you want to defer a lot of money, maybe it'll make sense for you, right? So it's really situational based. I'm more giving advice from a place of, as a newer investor, and you're trying to like do the Burr method on apartments. So yeah, so that's kind of high level. Kind of any questions you had there, Keenan?
What would you look for in doing a seller finance, like term wise?
Like, what do I negotiate with seller financing term wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's beautiful about seller financing is that it's really customizable, right? You can be as creative as you want. So if I'm overpaying for this property by $500,000, remember when I underwrote it, I thought about 1.8 to $2 million. They want 2.5. If I'm giving you $2.5 million, I'm overpaying you by $500,000 in my mind. So as a result, I would probably want very low down payment. I'm talking 5%. 5%. If they want 10%, then I'm going to break up that 10% over a couple of years, right? So let's just say it's 10%. I'll give you 4% at the close of escrow, then 3% the next 2 years. In terms of interest, I probably want very low interest payments because your interest is I'm overpaying for the property by $500,000. That's your baked in interest. So in this deal, if I'm overpaying by that much, I want to see what my monthly payment is. The monthly payment must make sense that I cash flow, right? I need a cash flow, at least 6 to 10% cash on cash return. If I'm seller financing the deal, I want it to be good, right? You want a decent cushion of cash flow. so that you negotiate your monthly payment, whether it's interest only, whether that's principal only, whatever that is, you negotiate it. So on this deal, I'd probably want 0 to 5% down, 0% interest, or very 0 to 4% interest, something very little. And I want a long term, so at least 10 years, so that I can organically raise the rents with the market and then eventually cash out refinance and pay them out, right? Because I need to force $500,000 in value because we're paying for $500,000. So creative financing, it's really the situation of the seller. Like, what's their pain point? Like, do they need the money immediately? If so, they may not want creative financing, right? Do they not need the money? Maybe they want to retire and live on a beach all day. In that case, they might want to seller finance long term and just get the income coming in, monthly income, right? They're used to getting monthly income every month. So seller financing, they become the bank. You pay them on a monthly basis. Is this property paid off and owned free and clear? I don't think the answer is probably no because it's so new, but you never know. If it's paid off, then you can sell it carry first. They become the bank. If they're still a loan, you can do subject to. Maybe they got a good interest rate back in 2017, right? Interest rates are more reasonable back then. It was like probably 5% or less. So you do subject to, you can take over those payments. So for me, I negotiate career financing in a way where I'm cash flowing on a monthly basis, whatever that looks like. And if I'm depending on how much I'm overpaying, I'd want a low down payment and low interest. So that's what I love about career financing is you pick the terms and it has to be a win-win situation for both of you. It's always give and take, right? So they are the bank and you can negotiate. That makes sense for you and for them. So it takes a while to build that trust to do that. But once you can do that, that's how you scale, right? And that's how you get these creative finance deals. I interviewed one investor where he bought like 3 duplexes for subject to financing. He took over the loan and he just paid the difference between what he bought for and what the loan was as a down payment. So, another guy, they get like very low down deals. And, I haven't done one yet myself. I did 10% down, which is pretty good. But I want to buy a deal where it's literally 0 to 5% down or 0% down just to break my own limiting belief. Because right now I don't think it's possible. But I see people do it on YouTube. But I feel like I have to do it myself in order to experience that. So the answer, the quick answer is it's all negotiable. But as long as you cash flow and make sure that your down payment is as low as possible. Does that answer your question, Keenan?
Yeah, definitely. Gives me more of an insight of what to look for and what to have to do.
Yeah. Any other questions, Keenan?
I don't think so. I think that was a perfect little underwrite for me to get some insight in.
Yeah. So I just keep on practicing underwriting, and you're going to get better. And I guess since I have a little more time, I just kind of want to share something that I'm going through with my 20-unit apartment complex. So basically, I purchased this back in May of 2022, so about a year ago, and I got a hard money loan on it. Not many people. I asked about 10 hard money lenders, and they all said no. 11 said yes, finally. And the reason for that is it was a smaller purchase price of $350,000. It's in a tertiary market in Oklahoma, so it's not as big, and the rents are like $500 a month, right? So just and the population's maybe about 20, I think 30,000. So just those factors alone, a lot of banks do not want to lend in those type of environments. So, I was able to get this hard money lender. It was 25% down. They gave me $100,000 to renovate it. I ended up using 120,000. So I ended up going over a bit. But, when I teach in my courses, anticipate to go over like 30, 40% over your bids. So I thought it was gonna be 100. I went 120. So that's 20%. That's not bad. It's not terrible. But at the time when I did my loan, I thought I had a 3-month extension for 0% fees, which I thought was amazing. So I was like, oh, I actually have 15 months to do it. But the problem is what I learned was that was a year ago. So even though the website says, oh, yeah, we still have that 0% extension fee for 3 more months. So I just said, okay, I got an email from the hard money lender saying, hey, your loan is due on May 12th. Like, what's your plan? Like, when are you going to pay it off? And I emailed, said, oh, like I thought I had a 3-month extension option. I want to exercise that for zero cost, right? And he said, no, it's actually, he sent me an email back saying, no, it's about 1% fee. So it's 1% of the loan. So my loan's around 300,000. So it's to be $3,000 fee. And I get another 3 months and they're going to raise my interest rate. I was paying 9% interest only. And keep in mind, this was a year ago, and they wanted to raise it to 11 or 12% interest only. So not only did I pay 3,000 to extend it, but also I have to, my interest rate goes up by 3%. So now I'm kind of scrambling, right? Because I have about a little over a month to do it. My 20 units about 75% occupied. So 15 out of 20 units are occupied. So I called a bunch of other lenders and said, hey, like this is my apartment complex. They typically ask like, how much is your insurance? My insurance is around, 12,000. Property tax is about 4,000. Property management 8%. And I said, I'm at 75% occupancy. And a lot of the cash out refinance people are saying, no, we want you around 87 to 90% occupied. Right. And I said, okay, well, I'm at 15 out of 20. I have about 4 units that are rent ready right now. If I can rent out 3 of the 4, I'll be at 18 out of 20, which is 90%. I can do the cash out refi. But to be able to do that, rent out 3 units, plus on top of that, do a cash out refinance of a different lender, that's already cutting. I'm already probably past that limit, right? So all my hard money is gonna be due. So I said, okay, well, like what do I do next? So I asked another lender, kind of same thing, right? Like I sent them the specs and, I haven't gotten a response back yet, but already out the gate, like, I'm working with a 30-day window here. And if they want the occupancy high, like around 87 to 90, I probably can't do that. So, okay, I said, okay, well, I guess worst case, I extend for 3 months, right? If I do another 3 months, I probably can get to 90%, and I pay the 1% fee and 3% more. So that's my worst case scenario. But I actually called up the same bank, the loan officer that I was working with, and I said, hey, like, can you guys cash me out? Like, do a cash out refinance with me? And he said, actually, Steven, like, we can do a cash out refinance for you. We want you around 75% occupancy minimum. I said, okay, great. I'm at 75%. And it said that, but all units must be habitable. And I just said, oh, well, what's considered habitable, right? Because, technically you could live in an apartment complex without flooring. It's habitable, right? And he said that, well, basically you have to have a kitchen, running water, running electricity, running gas, and flooring, no holes in the walls. That's considered habitable. Doesn't have to be super nice, just habitable. And I said, okay, well, I have, 15 are occupied. So I'm assuming they're habitable, right? And 5 are vacant. 3 of the 5 are rent ready. So they're being advertised today. So they're habitable. 1 is getting new flooring today. So after the flooring is done, it's done. They'll be habitable. And then 1 unit, which is the smallest unit, my last unit, unit number 19, that one needs work, right? So that one's a little bit, I think the prior tenant was a hoarder. And during my inspection, I was the inspector was unable to get in there, actually. So I didn't know what it looked like. But, it probably needs around $5,000 of repair. So, I got the quote. I approved it from my general contractor. He's going in, and I said, well, how long is it going to take you to finish this last unit? And he said, well, I'm probably going to start tomorrow. Probably take me a week. And, it's just one guy. It's just him. He works on there like, I think 10 hours a day, 8 to 10 hours a day. And he's been pretty on time, to be honest. Like, he's faster than my other general contractor that I have for my 26 unit. So basically, in about a week, I'll have 75% occupancy. I was informed that one tenant hasn't paid, so we're evicting them. So I'm dipping down to 70. The bank said 70 is okay. And just keep in mind, when you close on the new loan, it takes 30 days. So in 30 days, maybe you can rent out more units. That's the positive. Or you can lose tenants too. So what I did was, now that I know that, okay, they want 75% occupancy. So what did I tell my property manager? I called my property manager next and said, hey, we got to maintain 75% occupancy. in order for me to do this cash out refinance. And I want to rent out these, 3 or 4 rent ready units immediately. And a general contractor will be done with the last unit in about 7 days. And I said, you know what? I want to get these out rented as fast as possible. Let's do my move-in special again, where it's $77 to move in. They just pay $77 plus a security deposit, and they can move in. So I think $77 security deposit is like $500. So for $600, they can move in. And I just want to get people in here to show the lenders that it's occupied, right? So I want to get in, and my property manager has been renting about maybe 2 per month. So I know by this month, end of this month, I'll probably be at around 17, 85%. So I should be good. But it's also, you look at the time, it's spring. And spring is when rentals are a lot more popular, right? I was renting out 2 per month during the holidays. Tenants are not as good during the holidays. No one wants to move during the holidays. One of the tenants that I have to evict, unfortunately, he moved in during December and he did the $77 move-in special when I was a little more desperate. And he just paid $77, paid 2 months, and after that he stopped paying. And then we evicted him. Right. So he took advantage of, the move-in special. So, fortunately when you do move-in specials, it attracts those type of people. But given my situation, I want to do a hard money loan or cash out refinance on the hard money loan. So I said, okay. So I gave my lender, I said, you know what? Let me send you all the financials. I gave them my rent roll. I gave them my property management expense, 8%. Obviously they know about all my renovations I've done. They know my property already. And he said that, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to do a cash out refinance and pull out some money? Or do you just want to convert your hard money loan over to a long-term loan? And I said, I want to pull my money, right? Because I don't want my money trapped there. I want to pull the money back out and, buy more real estate. That's my goal. I want to pull up my down payment. I want to pull up my renovation costs. So I put about $80,000 down and about $120,000 renovation. So I'm all into the property, $200,000. So my goal is I want to pull out close to $200,000. If I leave a little bit of money in the deal, that's okay. If I get a little extra money from the deal, great. That's my profit. So I said, no, I want to do a cash flow refinance. He said that, well, what do you think the value is? Like when we appraised it a year ago, it was around 580,000, right? So I bought it for 350, putting in around 100, and it's worth 580. That was my estimation a year ago. I bought for 350, I put in 120, and I think it's going to be worth, I told him 650 to 700 conservatively. The 700, that's 35K per unit. I know that there's apartments nearby that sell for 80K or 40K per unit. So 35K is pretty good margin. And he said that, okay, well, let me underwrite this deal. Let me split the difference. So he said, let me do it at 675, and the interest rate's going to be 9%, and it's going to be amortized over 30 years. So he said that, okay, well, I'll underwrite the deal. I have your property tax, I have your insurance, I have your property management fee, and they obviously underwrite some, operating expense as well to operate it. And then from there, they're looking to calculate the debt service coverage ratio of 1.25. So I kind of did the math already. I just said, okay, well, at $650,000, I'm being very conservative. They allow up to 80% loan to value cash out refinance, but I'm not, because my apartment's only 70% occupied. I just say, okay, I'm gonna assume a 70% cash out refinance. So I can get 70% loan to value. So what you do is you take that $650,000, you times it by 0.7%, and that's your new loan. You're gonna subtract your current loan, and then from there, that difference is how much money you take in your pocket. And hopefully that's $200,000 for me. And I think I calculated at $650,000, I would probably get back most of my money. So it's a perfect burr on that deal. So what kind of screwed me over was because the interest rate's 9%, I need more cash flow to hit that debt service coverage ratio of 1.25. If the interest rate was 4%, my apartment would be worth $800,000. So I can pull out more money. But what was nice to me that the lender told me and the loan officer told me was, hey, a year ago, multifamily wasn't as favorable. A year later, multifamily is more favorable. Banks actually like it more because they see it that it's an income producing asset. It's safer to banks. So when I heard that, I said, okay, that's great. That means that the appraisal will be higher. So I basically said that I want to appraise it at $680,000. and pull out as much cash as possible. By all means, I hope that it appraises higher. It may appraise higher, but at the end of the day, I think the limiting step is the fact that I'm only at 75% occupancy, and they're looking for a debt service coverage ratio of 1.25, but it depends how they underwrite it. If they assume I'm at 85% occupancy, which is reasonable, it's 15% vacancy. They know that I'm renting it for $500 a unit. So if I'm at 75 and I'm getting around, I think 7,200 a month in rent, if I rent out 2 more units to get to 85, I'm 8,200 a month in rent, right? So 8,200 a month, half our expense, so that's 4,100. But that's how I underwrite it. Maybe they'll assume expenses a 40%, whatever that is, right? So however they underwrite the expense ratio. And then from there, they know their debt, how much your debt service is, and you calculate your debt service coverage ratio. So you take, your NOI divide by your debt service on an annual basis, and they want that at a 1.25%. So, that's why I kind of gave my ARV that way. He said that, what, let me run some numbers and get back to you in a day or two. And then if the numbers look good, I'll probably lock it in. I just said, hey, I might lose a tenant, but I might get a tenant. So I just want to lock it in. And what's nice about using the same bank is they already know me. They know the property. They can close faster. And if, let's just say it hits May 12th and my loan's not done yet, but I'm using them, they'll give me more time without charging fees. So, and, they really like the deal. I reached out to other lenders and they still didn't like the deal. So, just kind of something I learned about my hard money loan. Obviously I'll keep on sharing my journey and how I'm going through my first hard money cash out refinance for my 20 unit. But it's just crazy to me how I could pull out all my down payment, all my renovation costs, despite a 9% interest rate. If I had a 5% interest rate, like what it was, a year and a half to 2 years ago, I would have pulled out on top of my down payment, probably extra $100,000. Right. But because I bought the deal correctly, I'm indifferent to interest rates and whatever. If I can get a 5-year term interest rate at a lower percentage of interest, I'm going to cash out refinance this deal anyways. Right. It's 9% high. Like if in a few years, the interest rate drops back down to like 5 or 6, I'm going to cash out refinance again and then pull up money and then lower my rate again. So, you can't get so fixated on the interest rates, right? Like you got to buy right and just move on, right? Like for me, I have no choice. My hard money loans are due. I have no choice. I got to do it. But because I bought it so well, I have that margin. And now I know how this lender works. So if I do another deal with them, I know exactly what they think and exactly how to work with them next time. I had some frustrations, but the second time is easier. So, just kind of want to share what I'm going through with my hard money loan process. And obviously I'll keep on you guys updated on it as I go through it. But, just interesting to share my experience because it's my first time as well. So that's all I had for today. Any questions, Keenan?
No, not at all. But thank you for the honesty, and it's fun following along and kind of learning as you learn things too. It shows a lot. So,
Yeah, man. No, I and thank you for showing on. And just by attending these and seeing it, you're gonna learn a lot without even you don't have to use your own money, right? You're learning from me. And I spent $200,000 in this deal. So that's the whole point, right? Is to learn from people who are actually doing it. And I'm very honest, very transparent about the whole process. I don't paint rosy pictures. I just say how it is and intent to add value. So, yeah. So, all right, guys, thanks for hopping on. And I will see you guys next week.
later, Steven.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.